Welcome to Industry Champions. I'm your host, Chris Budihas, and joining remotely is Sarah Carter with Arrowhead Leadership Consulting up in beautiful Springfield, Virginia. Sarah, how are you?
Hey, Chris, I am well. The actual spring weather has finally arrived, so you've caught me on a really good day.
Awesome. Well, God bless you. Hopefully your allergies aren't kicking in. So I would be remiss before we start to talk about Arrowhead. I want to talk about you a little bit. Number one, where are you originally from? And then two, we talked off camera, and I know who you are, and I can see your memorabilia on the wall. What you do in the Navy?
Yeah, so I actually grew up a stone's throw away from Jacksonville down in Vero Beach, Florida, and was inspired from seeing the planes fly there and fly everywhere else. I really wanted to be a pilot after seeing them. I thought I could do that for sure. So I went to the Merchant Marine Academy and then flew P3s and P8s for the Navy. This is not that.
Nope.
My final tour was at the White House. And so these are some guys flying HMX-1. But yeah, very familiar with Jax.
Well, that's great. Well, hey, thank you for your service to the nation. Obviously, you didn't do what you did for our nation. We wouldn't be here today doing what we're doing. So Arrowhead Leadership Consulting, what do you guys do and how do you do it?
Well, we do it really well. And what we do is we transform leaders' lives, not just at work, but at home. And how do we do that differently than everyone else is we lead with emotional intelligence. We feel it's really vitally important that you know you as a human before you can really understand you as a leader, and before you can lead others.
That's great. And it's such a relevant topic, right? Emotional intelligence as a term, it's been kind of hot last couple of years, but it's really been around for a while. What are some of the things you're seeing out there? What are some of the common issues that you're seeing with leaders that is they take a look at emotional intelligence, or maybe what are some of the themes that you guys discuss with them that resonates?
Yeah, one of the biggest things we noticed, Chris, was coming out of COVID, everyone had kind of put their blinders on. Everyone was in survival mode, get through, make sure that my mouse is moving so my manager knows I'm working. I kind of forgot about others and how to interact with others. And emotional intelligence is beyond knowledge of yourself. It's knowledge of how to interact, meet people where they are. So we feel kind of like we're retraining that a lot of times. Like you said, it's been a hot topic for a while, but it went away for a little while too. So we're kind of everywhere we go, you see people have that recollection like, oh, I've talked about this, but I'm relearning it. It's one of our big themes.
Do you see, right now there's 5 generations in the workplace in the U.S. Do you see generational differences? And I say maturity. I met 60, 70-year-olds that are not mature. You see a level of maturity between and misunderstandings in between these generational groups that, you need to kind of recenter these folks?
Absolutely. One of the places that I specialize in Arrowhead and have been working a lot on is talking about Gen Z leading. Not the topic we've all been having for a while is leading Gen Z. Eric does that and he does a fantastic job. But I'm working, like you said, where the generations are. And what I'm finding is it's not so much a maturity, it's a willingness. I'm drawing out of the more experienced generations, if you will, a willingness to meet this younger generation where they are. And I'm doing that by emphasizing to them that this is your legacy. If you don't meet them where they are and encourage them and inspire them as leaders, your legacy's done. It's gone. Yeah. So yes, that is definitely a trend out there.
Well, it's funny. I was reading an article. I've seen this a couple of times in the last 6 months, talking about succession planning within companies. And then, like they said in a number of articles, it's not just for big companies. It's for medium companies. It's for small companies. And then it's not just for, in many cases, generational companies or first generation companies. The idea is, in order to be successful, for the business to live on, you have to purposefully succession, plan, and then work on developing those folks, because as you know, if you can homegrown talent, those folks will take that experience within the company and then, kind of live beyond your legacy by having to hire talent and bring them in and then, get them integrated as part of the team. Are you seeing much? I can imagine there's some sticking points, friction points in this space based on the literature I've seen. So is it a real problem or not really?
Oh, it's a real problem. And you're absolutely right. It's not just big companies, it's small companies as well. I see restaurants, local stores out here and back in my hometown of Vero go out of business. And when you ask them why, they're like, I didn't have anyone to take over that I felt would do the same job that I'd done, that I felt would carry things on. And it's why? Oh, well, I didn't understand them. We didn't work the same way. So it is absolutely vital to invest in.
Yeah, I love that. I was talking to a friend out in Kansas recently, and unfortunately, they sold the company because they felt they couldn't, like you stated, hand it off to somebody because they wanted the company to live on, though it wouldn't be under their leadership. So they sold the company rather than invest in the people because it was just foregone at that point. They got older in age. But I was just thinking, what a missed opportunity for some of that homegrown talent to step up into the position of leadership. And they just felt nobody was in that position, though I'd imagine there was. They just weren't given the opportunity nor groomed for such a responsibility, right? So
absolutely. And
yeah,
go ahead. Well, this generation craves it. When I interview Gen Zers and I'm asking them, what is it that will keep you at a company, that will gain your loyalty? And one of the things is opportunity for development, personal, professional knowledge, some opportunity. And if you're not doing it, they're walking because that's what they want.
Now, I appreciate that observation because as we all know, it's cheaper to retain talent as to go hire talent. And then the question is, why are people leaving? There's a piece of that. So I love the fact you brought that up, right? Because there's misconceptions, right? Like I was reading a book talking about the 5 generations in the workplace, and there's a perception amongst, I'm a Gen Xer, so Gen X and baby boomers that the younger generations, all they want is money and titles and company cars and company credit cards. And that's not, everybody wants a little bit of that, but the reality of it is they want opportunity. But when you're in a position or in a company where you do not see potential growth, we see it even in the military, right? If there's no upward mobility, or at least lateral mobility to upward mobility, then you're going to look for other opportunities unless you're just really happy where you're at. So, it sounds like, Arrowhead, obviously, I know there's a value proposition, which you alluded to earlier, that you guys bring to companies. So it's just for the greater audience, where for services that you guys provide, you guys are willing to work nationally, and what size companies, types of companies you're willing to work with?
Oh, yeah. We work nationally. Just this year, I've been to New York, Wisconsin, here in Virginia. Eric's been to everywhere. I think if the U.S. had a national passport, that man would have all of them. And we work with every size. We work with huge, thousands of people companies. We work with teams within those companies of 20 people. Then we also work with smaller companies. I just started a contract with probably our smallest company ever with just 40 people. They're growing, and they are very intentionally investing in their next leaders that are coming up because they see what they need is that investment. That's
amazing. So, Sarah, how do people find you, and how do they find Arrowhead Leadership Consulting?
Easiest place, website, arrowheadleadership.com. Well, arrowhead-leadership.com. Or we're on LinkedIn like all the time. You can find me on there, any of us. So those are the 2 best places.
Okay, awesome. Well, Sarah, it's good to see you again. Thanks for connecting here on Industry Champions. We'll take all that contact information, I'll put in our show notes, and encourage folks to, number one, connect with you and I on LinkedIn, and then take a look at Arrowhead Leadership Consulting for you guys' services. So I appreciate what you're doing. And again, thank you so much for your service to the nation.
Thanks, Chris. It was my pleasure.
Awesome. Hey, folks, take a look at Arrowhead Leadership Consulting. Connect with Sarah and myself. As I stated, we'd love to talk to you, continue the conversation. with the 5 generations in the workplace and the misconceptions that occur there, we can close the seam in between. And, really for business, close the understanding, but also have our companies, thrive in a the way that they should in their market and their businesses. So we'll see our next segment. Love with gratitude.